Okay, I'm going to reconvene the meeting of the Board of Selectmen for September 12th, 2016. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have tonight Alex Parsons, Taylor Parsons, and Kayla Dow to lead first. And I guess Eric couldn't make it, right? No. Oh, okay, so come on up and...
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, girls. And they'll be on the agenda a little bit later for a project that they're working on, so we'll hear more from them in a little bit. Okay, so first on the agenda... First on the agenda are the approval of the minutes for open sessions from August 29th, 2016, and for executive session, August 29th, 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Everyone's good with the minutes the way they were published? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we have, it looks like just one communication tonight on the agenda. Mr. Mailer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to include in your packets and speak briefly tonight about a joint memo from Superintendent Jennifer Price and I, updating you on the status of the next phase of the facility master plan project. That's the addition of classrooms in the public schools here. It allowed you to get sort of an overview of what the status is today. We've selected an architect and moving forward, which is on schedule to the plan. Remember, this phase of the project, we're in the middle or completing construction on the Town Hall project. Public Works project is nearing the bid phase for construction, and then next up would be the additional classroom space. Given some initial information we've gotten back and some research we've done, we've asked the architect to explore a slightly different option that was originally proposed. Again, there's no commitment to that option. We're going to wait to hear back from the architect and then obviously rely on the subcommittee of the school committee who's going to manage the school building construction. But we're exploring the option of building, constructing, delivering in modular form a kindergarten-only facility that would be adjacent to the ECC. And there's a number of reasons programmatically and financially why that would make sense. Having a single location where kindergarten and preschool kids could go, allowing for a unified administration in that case, one building, single administration. The opportunity that would free up kindergarten space, what is currently kindergarten space in each of the elementary schools, which in the longer term may lend itself to adding additional classrooms and reducing the overall average class size within the public school system. There is no guarantee that the architect will review that as part of the feasibility and say that it's feasible, but it's something that had come up in conversations that we had internally, and we felt like it was important to explore, and so the architect will include that as part of the feasibility. Ultimately, the feasibility report will make a series of recommendations that will be forwarded off to the school committee and the subcommittee of that school committee that looks at facilities. And when the project is recommended by the school committee, our goal is that whatever recommendation they make, we'll evaluate it as part of the capital improvement process. So you get a pretty aggressive guideline, a pretty aggressive schedule in order to try to get that done and included in the capital plan. And ultimately, after I prepare the capital plan, we'll come forward to the Board of Selectmen, and you folks will decide if you like what's in the capital plan or would expect some alteration to that.
Questions?
Yeah, actually, Mr. Town Manager, in regards to it, I have been involved a decade ago with getting the preschool built. At that time, I thought I would have liked to have seen a much larger building and incorporated kindergarten 10 years ago into that building, but financially it just wasn't feasible, so we did what we could do. My question, though, with that building, did you say the kindergarten would be somehow behind the current?
I make no assumptions as to what the architect might find. We're just, in addition to what was originally proposed, remember the facility master plan was discussed in earnest by a committee back in 2010. So I know there were discussions leading up to that, but if I can start with that I know, because I've been only here since 2011, the facility master plan committee discussed the concept of adding classrooms. At the time, actually, it was a placeholder. There wasn't a sort of concrete sense of exactly where would go or what the size would be. As time has moved on, we also obviously recognize that we want to address the average class size issue in the school system. And so introducing this to at least be explored. Remember, what the architect is doing is a feasibility study to try to understand what's possible, and it only made sense since this idea was introduced to explore this possibility as well. May very well be you can't build it there. May very well be that it doesn't make sense to do so. What Jennifer Price and I wanted to introduce to the board and to the school committee as well is the prospect that we've added that as a possibility, where up to this point in the facility master plan, the only discussion has been adding a series of classroom buildings, likely at one or two of the elementary schools. And where we've broadened that conversation, we felt it important enough to bring to both the school committee and to the Board of Selectmen, so that if it comes out as part of the feasibility that it's a possible recommendation, it's not a surprise.
Right.
Just for clarification, I used that word modular. Is that another word for prefab?
No, they're dramatically different structures. In fact, the ECC is an interesting example for us in comparison to some of the modulars that are placed in the back of the school buildings. The ECC, if you were to walk in it, which has been around now for just about a decade, I believe, looks pretty close to the day it was placed there. It's just a different kind of construction. So it's not temporary, which I think generationally, sometimes I hear these words and my immediate reaction generationally is temporary. I think the ECC is a very good example of the fact that those kinds of facilities are not temporary at all. In fact, as a cost on return, that particular facility, I forget the exact dollar amount, but in terms of the return, it'll probably be a 30-year structure. And compared to a bricks and mortar building, it probably is, 1/3 or 1/4 the cost.
How many,
Yeah, it had a
how many are
lifespan.
they considering?
Again, this is a feasibility study. So the idea here is for folks with far more intelligent than I, with a sense of what happens in an education setting, to come back with recommendations. What came up internally as we had conversations was that we should consider this option, where in the past it hadn't been something that was considered. So with the facility master plan being fairly, well, not generally specific, if that, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, about the classroom piece. We're going to spend $1.5 million and it'll be classrooms. And there was no definition as to where and what size and how many students. When this concept was introduced, we added it to the scope of services for the architect to make sure that we weren't missing something. So again, it may come back that this prospect doesn't make sense for any number of reasons. Can't be located there, subsurface condition, any number of things. And it's also possible it could come back as an alternative which wields a far greater benefit to the school district and the community at large. We just don't know at this point.
Either way, I think it's forward-thinking, and our population certainly isn't shrinking, so.
No, I would agree with that.
I think, are they going to act on the side of more than less? There's a lot of kids coming into the system.
Yeah. I don't think it's a more than less. I think that's probably too, there's not enough dimensions to that. I think the question will be, and I know we're focusing on that, and that's important because that was somewhat the intention of the memo, because it's a new concept. The idea would be introduce the varying factors. Can you construct more on that site? Is it possible with wetlands delineation? What does transportation look like? So obviously we'd like to affect the classroom space issue as broadly as possible. There's also cost considerations. The plan here is that we're considering this within the facility master plan. We're not considering this as a sort of traditional school building construction model. We're talking about what we can afford within the four corners of a facility master plan, something that we've all recognized has been widely acclaimed and widely embraced. We've got other communities emulating it. Quite frankly, the success we've had financially gives us some latitude within that financial plan. The benefits of your leadership and the leadership of the school committee has put us in a position that we financially are capable of having some flexibility about the opportunity of introducing this idea, where in 2010 the idea that we were going to take a $1.5 million placeholder and put it into something that's probably 3 or 4 times that cost just wouldn't have been possible, quite frankly. We would have said we can't fit it. Today that prospect is at least worth considering. And so this is a project that would fit within the facility master plan, within the capital plan.
I'm just concerned about what the projected increase in population in this town, that we make the move and make it right instead of having to come back in 10 years and do it again.
Yeah, I think that in looking at the models, and the school system is great. Mr. Mealy has provided me 20-year-plus snapshot, is that it's not easy to evaluate and fit in those spots. So when people move into the community, you can have 20 people can move into the community in 1 year. This year we had more than that, but it was largely kindergarten. Last year we had 90-some-odd less students. So it really depends upon where they are in the class structure. So even if one family moved in the community and had 3 kids, they're not all 3 going to the, well, unless they're triplets, they're not going to the same school in the same grade. They could very well be in middle school, high school, and elementary school. So that's not a target that's easy to emulate. I think what we have to recognize is the idea of this concept that's worth exploring is if you can build a single structure and move your kindergarten kids there, then from that perspective, we are freeing up classroom space in every elementary, not just a single elementary, where the original proposal, again, was intended to be, I keep on using the term placeholder, but that's what was used with me, is we didn't have enough information yet to understand exactly what we needed for classrooms. And so the general concept was we would probably see 2 classrooms at 3 buildings or 3 classrooms at 2 buildings, some combination of 6 classrooms. And this idea seems worth exploring because it might provide the flexibility to have us address a longer-term problem. But I think we have to get to the point where our population is understandable, and quite frankly, today I would argue it's not. We don't know where the kids are coming in. I certainly have provided you some growth models, but we need to see where if those growth models hit target. We are growing. I would fully expect in 20 years or less we're going to be a 32,000 population community. I think it'd be hard to imagine we're not. But what's the
20 years or less?
Well, I'm being generous, right? I
Really?
don't want to say
Like
5.
10 years or less?
I could argue 5, but again, it depends on the nature. We don't know.
We're around 30 now, right?
No, we're at the census population. 28,352 is the 2010 census population. So but they do census every 10 years. And there are some various sites that will give you estimates in the meantime. I just try not to get off the every decade census because, quite frankly, I don't know where that data comes from. But we're at 28,352 versus on the 2010 census. So I'm trying to be a little conservative in where those numbers are going to be, but we're seeing some growth. But where's the growth, right? Where is the growth coming from? What is evident is we're not building as many subdivisions. We're not building as many 3- and 4-bedroom hip colonials.
True.
And so we need to see in some of these multi-unit housing what the nature of the occupancy is. I think the point here is this opportunity is worth exploring because it may very well address an immediate and midterm concept relative to enrollment and allows us to address that. And then I think we need to find eventually where the community is going to sit. Is it 32 and it stays at 32? Is it 32 and look like it's going to be something else? I think we're still evolving a little bit. I mean, I would have thought that maybe in the year 1990 or 1995, we weren't quite sure we'd look like what we do today.
Very true.
Right? So, again, this is a facility master plan concept. This isn't a community-wide conversation about the school district in terms of space. This is using the facility master plan and some of the flexibility we've created by making strategic decisions to look at a prospect that we otherwise wouldn't have looked at in 2010. So it's great that we have that flexibility. We'll see what the experts have to say, and then it'll move on to the school committee to make a recommendation back, and we've got to fit that within the timing of get it within the capital plan, and then I'll have to make a recommendation back to you of whether or not the school committee's recommendation can be fit within the capital plan.
So that'll be around December 1st, it looks like the schedule.
A little later than that, but yes, December. I know that I've given you the schedule from the architect, and then we have our own schedule, and there's a few of those that don't quite align, but we'll get it all done.
Will it be complete by next September?
No, it wouldn't get done by next September. We're in the design phase currently, so we'd be seeking town meeting approval for funding. Right.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
you say all complete, you still talking the building? Or
No. That's not where we stand.
Government.
Gotta come back.
It's not government, it's,
Well, it's town meeting.
Design phase,
Get the
build
money for the
phase,
design.
build.
Yeah.
but remember, not every project, in North Andover, which is a compliment, in North Andover, we design, we explain the design, we get approval for the funding for the construction. We're on now what project are we on? Heading toward project number 5. So this is our method, right? And
Yes.
so we're holding on that. So we will go back to town meeting seeking approval for the funding associated with whatever project gets approved.
It doesn't bump what's already,
No, it is the next project.
okay.
Yep, the design feasibility stage is where we're at now, approved by the 2016 town meeting.
Yes, okay.
At the 2017 town meeting is the funding for the school space project and the design for the senior center project.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I have just a couple of comments. I'm one of the few parents, where all three of my children went to the Bradstreet School for kindergarten, and frankly, it was a great experience. So I'm certainly open-minded to that. Modular, by the way, Dawn, just for your information, there are modular multi-million-dollar homes that come in big chunks, and they put them together.
So just the word didn't sound like a...
Yeah, I understand. That's why I just wanted to clarify that, so that it can run the gamut. The only, just a couple things that I would, is just, the one building I think would also help with, when you start adding more classrooms, then you start having cafeteria problems and gym problems and things like that, because you've got too many kids and they start having their lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning because they can't fit all the kids in. So I don't know what would happen with the kindergarten. I don't know, do we add lunch for kindergarten? I'm kind of
I think I'll have to lean on those. Again,
That's right.
good news
As
is
do I.
They have to eat.
the feasibility group handling this project has extensive experience in schools. So part of the reason they were hired because of their skill in schools. So they'll contemplate things like joint spaces, cafeteria space, recreation space. They'll contemplate that. We also would need to fit that and contemplate that within something you'll see in the next meeting or two, which is the extensive upgrade, rehab of the space between the middle school and the current ECC, which the committee will be before you in a meeting or two talking about next phase and asking for your direction and approval on that, and trying to link those two projects, which could be an exciting linkage, quite frankly, because there's some possibility for multi-generational use in that area, which I think would link great to our educational facilities. But so we've got a number of moving parts here. It's early.
Right.
But all of those considerations will be provided as part of a report to the school committee, because again, this is a school project. They'll come back and support one of those recommendations, I hope, support a recommendation in some form, and then I'll work with the team to fit that recommendation, if it's possible, within the capital plan, and then make that capital plan recommendation to the board. Typically, we do that by the end of December, depending on the nature of this project and its significance and whatever the plan is. We may be a little later than scheduled, but that's, we don't like being later than scheduled. But
No, but I think we would prefer it to be all-encompassing
Yes.
and late than not. Because Rosemary actually made a very valid point. I mean,
Yep.
there are middle school kids who are eating at 10 a.m. And they're
But that's why the single facility,
starving.
but that's why the single facility could help if they have the cafeteria versus adding more classrooms. The only other thing that I
But
would...
the numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
The only other thing that, and I'm not the expert, and as you said, we've got experts that'll look at it, is there's a lot of schools in that location, so busing and getting traffic concerns. But kindergarten kids start later. I don't know what time they...
I think it's all things that
8:25 is when they
That's why I'm just making that point. It's just a lot of stuff going on there.
Look forward to the report.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like most of the things in this realm, there'll be a series of choices. No decision we make comes without some level of consequence. We've built almost all of our education structures in one location in town. Whatever went into that, that's where we're at. And it is one of those things that the architect will need to consider as a function of all of it. There is a traffic component, I think, that'll be included as part of the work that will get done in the middle school area to try to address that generally, because quite frankly, when there's an event like a national night out, trying to pull behind the middle school is already complicated. So the
It gets
traffic-
done,
Drop-off
though.
in the morning.
Oh, yeah, drop-off
With all
is-
the buses up there,
Yeah,
and you're
drop-off's pretty
dropping
bad.
off, and you're coming out, and there's kids walking down. It's a little...
So part of the good timing may very well be, if this ends up being this project, I'm not foreshadowing that it is that if we can time it to the work done generally in this area, first of all, this would be an extraordinary community space, and we may be able to very well address a broader set of issues. We'll have more activity and more use, and it may mean more cars, but we'll contemplate all of that eventually in terms of what we forward to the board for consideration.
Great.
It'll be great because you're
It's
transitioning all
exciting.
of these 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds into our school system, and now they're in full-day classes, and for a lot of them, they've never been in a full-day environment. And so to have everybody be there together as opposed to walking onto a playground where there's also 5th graders running around that are taller than some teachers, it helps alleviate it. As someone who went through it last week, where I was like, oh wow, letting my 5-year-old go onto this
Baby
playground.
go.
Exactly, but I think that, especially now that it's full day, which wasn't the case when Bradstreet was there,
Right.
it would be great to have everybody in that one location if that's feasible. And it's great that we're doing it within the confines of our existing budget.
That's the
So-
plan.
I
So
think,
more
I think it's a
hopefully.
great idea worth exploring. I do.
Absolutely.
Super.
It's great.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other communications announcements? Last chance to plug the Fall Festival.
I was just going to say, Saturday, September 24th will be the North Andover Merchants Annual Fall Festival. Proceeds will benefit the Sports Scholarship Fund this year, which has been a great success and has afforded a large number of kids the opportunity to play this year. So come on out on the 24th at the Common. It's a great time. And right before the Fall Festival is the, I think, the St. Vincent, or the Lazarus House Walk for the Poor. Starts in the morning and rolls right into the festival. So hopefully that's Saturday, the 24th, next week.
Not this Saturday.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other communications, announcements, anything else coming up that we should know about? Dance at the barn?
That's coming, but we are, I'll just kind of tease you with it a little bit. We, the North Andover Women's Club is putting together a dance, what's called a barn dance, but it will be at the barn at the country club. It's just a fun night out, hors d'oeuvres, cash bar, and dancing, and it's just a fun night. We're really looking to attract people of all different ages. We're sort of trying to reminisce for those of us, the barn, the old barn, which is now the youth center, used to be where dances were held in town. Proceeds will benefit our public safety officials. North Andover Women's Club, we just raise money and then we just give it away. So the proceeds will go for North Andover Public Safety, Police, Fire. And just another little component of it, we will be selling bandanas, kind of goes with the fall barn dance thing, and the proceeds from that will also go towards the police and fire. So the joke is, how will you wear and where will you wear your bandana? And it comes in all different colors, and we will be selling those at the Fall Festival. So it's early November. Is it the
November 4th.
November 4th. So
More to come.
more to come. Thank you for.
Okay.
So there's the tease.
Oh yeah,
Anything
one
else?
more. October 1st, tickets for the Booster Club, first annual to be casino night is October 1st.
Okay.
Now, who says there's
Where's
nothing
the
going
That's
on in
right,
town?
North Andover's a rock.
Information on that on the Booster Club website?
Booster Club website, we'll have all the information on this first big fundraiser for them.
Okay. Any other communication announcement? All right, we're done with that. Okay, consent items. First up on the consent items, we saw them earlier. Alex, Taylor, and Kayla are going to talk to us about a project called Kindness Rock Project. Come on up here, girls, to this table, and if you, yeah, thank you for that. And why don't you tell us about it and what you'd like to do. And you can introduce, each one of you can introduce yourselves too, please.
Okay, hi, I'm Alex Parsons. I'm in the 8th grade at the North Andover Middle School. I'm Kayla Dow, and I am a 9th grader at the North Andover High School. I'm Taylor Parsons, and I'm in 6th grade at the North Andover Middle School. And also, my little brother Eric Dow is also a 6th grader at the middle school, and unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. Hello, and thank you for having us here, and thank you.
Move your microphone so they'll hear you at home.
Okay. Hello, and thank you for having us, and thank you, Lori, for coordinating this opportunity. We are here to present to you the Kindness Rock Project with the hopes that you will allow us to bring the Kindness Rock Project to places in North Andover such as the Common, the library, and/or the youth center. What is the Kindness Rock Project? As stated on the Kindness Rock Project website, goal number 1, inspire others through randomly placed rocks along the way. Goal number 2, recruit every person who stumbles upon it to join in on the pursuit of inspiring others through random acts of kindness.
first time we heard about the Kindness Rock project, Kayla and I were at a beach in Yarmouth, Port Cape Cod, when Kayla spotted something out of the corner of her eye. So we went to go check it out, and it was this pile of rocks that had inspirational messages or quotes, and a board that said, "Take a rock for inspiration, make a rock for motivation, one rule, be kind." We brought some examples so you can get a feel of what it might look like.
Just hold it up and that way the TV can catch it.
That's a good
Everyone,
idea.
take a rock out, take a couple rocks out and pass them around.
Pass it around.
It's not a fortune, Don.
This is what it looks like. See, Tim wants to pick it up.
Pick up a rock, you leave a rock.
We were inspired to
This one.
I love this one.
We were inspired to bring the project to North Andover. Since learning about the project in June, we have noticed that it is trending in the news, social media, and numerous communities all over the U.S. have adopted the Kindness Rock project, and we would like North Andover to be the next. Participation is quite easy, and Tyler is going to tell you about the process.
The pile will start out with about 20 rocks and will hopefully grow. Since people are always taking and adding rocks, we don't see the project growing too big, perhaps as many as 50 at a time. This judgment of size is based on the photos from other projects we have seen online. You get a rock and the choice is yours on how to decorate it, paint it, or draw and write an inspiring quotes on it, then add it to the pile for others to see. If a rock really speaks to you, which one may, you can take it home with you and perhaps give it away to someone special.
We will monitor the area where the project is going to be placed and see that it will be well kept.
Also, we would like to mention that this is a great opportunity for community service groups like the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Step Up, to name a few, to work together on the common goal of spreading kindness or adding a smile to someone's day.
We would again like to thank you for your time, and we hope you will give us the okay for North Andover to be the next town to accept the Kindness Rock project.
Well organized.
Very good. Bravo, bravo.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind is, congratulations to you girls for recognizing this in Yarmouthport, and then recognizing it as a good thing and bringing it here and bringing it to everybody to see. So thank you for that. Let's open it up for questions or discussion.
You know what, having this great event, fall festival, where a lot of people come, did you think about maybe setting up a booth there? And I think for nonprofits, there's no fee. And if there's a fee, I will gladly pay the fee. And I might even hit a few of my other, but I'm pretty sure that it's free. It's not too late.
No, it shouldn't be too late, no.
Just a thought, because it's at the Common, and a lot of people come. So, something to think about.
What I like is that Rick Gorman, who's our Director of Youth and Recreation Services, saw the potential as well and jumped right onto it and would love to have it at the youth center as well. So it's always a good lesson to instill in everyone to always be kind. So it is a great idea. You guys really, it's very well spoken, and you did a great job tonight. So.
Well, I think that, as Selectman DiCollegiero pointed out, Rick Gorman actually heard about it and would actually like to host it at Drummond at the flagpole, I believe, in and around there, as opposed to the Common. I don't know if we're married to the Common, or not married to the Common, but Rick did mention
He called it the perfect
spot.
The perfect spot
Is right near the flagpole at Drummond. I think he would like to meet with the girls, actually, and really map it out and I think the good thing with including Rick and the youth center and youth services is that you'll get that continued pumping of it, marketing of it, shall we say, throughout town because it'll keep going. So my suggestion would be either Lori can schedule it up or you can reach out directly to Rick about it. And I mean,
We'll make an entree between the group. That's what the board's interested in, and we'll link the young ladies here with Rick and set up a meeting so that we can take the next steps.
You had 3 locations that you were suggesting, though. You said the Common, and then there was the youth center, and/or the youth center, but there was a second one.
Who's the third?
oh, the library too. I missed that one.
Okay.
I would assume then they'd have to speak directly with at the library too,
Well,
or
I'm not sure. So if you were doing it at the library, do you know where, or just a general idea?
It was a general idea.
Okay. I mean, here's a suggestion. If we start in one spot and then we get some feedback, then it'll help us make decisions of what's next. So a recommendation is we go with the youth center and then see how it grows, and then from there make more recommendations back to board, because you can always come back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that's a great plan. That way you see how it takes off, people get interested in it, and then if it becomes bigger than what the youth center can host, then maybe we can think of other locations and do it that way.
and then if you are interested in the fall festival, you can reach out to the North Andover Merchants. It's northandovermerchants@gmail. You can reach out directly to me. And really all that entails is a table. I mean, you might want to have rocks and paint and do, you know, if that's something that you're interested, you know, in doing, you can do that too, or you can just have, you know, that you're there and just have what you already have and just explain that it's coming, and, you know, maybe between now and then you could sit with Rick and already really know, and kind of, that's maybe a kickoff for you, you know.
Well, that's
Just
kind of
some
that's a great
suggestions
idea.
for you.
Paint some rocks right there.
Yeah,
Little
you know.
booth set up and paint some have some kids paint rocks.
Actually, I'd be loving to do that right now.
Finger paints only for this group.
You'll get a lot of notice from people of all different ages.
Right.
If you can. If you're scheduled, you know, I know you all.
Everybody's
things like
busy in
that.
sports, we get that.
So,
Even if you did it for a couple hours, you know.
To be honest, they approached the youth center in early July just to kind of get feelers, and they loved the idea, but we wanted to seek permission before we planted farms
Great.
throughout town, so it's kind of how we got here. But we actually have, or they have a 4:30 meeting tomorrow with Demi
Oh,
Great.
to move
beautiful.
Perfect.
forward
Good timing.
the flagpole.
Great.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Good, 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 good.
All right, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Well, you can make a motion, but where it's not going to be on the common, you don't need it. You can make it in support, but you don't need an actual vote since we're...
Oh, okay, well, let's make a motion in support of the project then.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for coming in tonight, girls, and
Nice.
thank
Good
you
luck,
for
girls.
leading the
It's
Pledge of
wonderful.
Allegiance for us, and great job.
Great.
It's a cool project.
I get impressed with kids, because I could not have done that in 6th grade. I was sat there going,
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Martin Allen is requesting permission to use Osgood Hill Trails on Saturday, November 5th, 2016, from 9 to 1 for the North Andover Cross Country Trophy Race Run/Walk.
That's right. How you doing, folks? Hard to follow up with those young ladies. Very inspiring. Longtime resident of Boston Street, current resident of Hewitt Ave, and I'd just like to thank the town manager's office for all their help and support in this event. I'm a parent of a child going to the Family Cooperative Preschool at the base of Half Mile Hill. I'm the current director of the Kendall-Cuppies New England Mountain Bike Racing Series and the Boston Rebellion Pro XCT U.S. Cup Series. I work with a group out of California to put on these events, based out of my home office here in North Andover. With my child going to the Family Cooperative Preschool, we were always looking for new creative ideas to raise funds for the school. Primarily, their main concern at this point is to raise funds to generate money for the mortgage for the school. So I stepped up and came came up with the idea to utilize the trail system adjacent to the school's property, which a lot of the parents, like myself, partake in hiking activities with our children or mountain biking and so on and so forth. So this idea came to within the last few months. I'm seeking permission to utilize the trail system on Saturday, November 5th from 9 to 1. I have approval from the Stevens estate. I have approval from the fire chief, police, and the DPW. And I'm here asking you folks for permission that I may utilize the trail system up there for the course of those few hours to help raise funds for the preschool.
So tell us a little bit about it. This is your opportunity. You're on TV, meaning.
Yep.
So how will you raise the money? Like, are you looking for pledges or?
No, it's simply just funds would be generated through entries for each race. So in the first year, we hope to have approximately 200 to 300 races. Entries for each individual person is about $30 a piece. And essentially that's it. And then we accept donations through the registration page too. So we hope to provide a good quality event that people would like to partake in the first year and then consecutive years thereafter.
And what kind of crews will you have there to help you out, and like specifically cleanup crews and?
Yep, our whole fundraising committee, parents of students will be in attendance to help us out. So I imagine we're going to have between about 20 and 30 volunteers. Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. I mean, because of the nature of the space, it's there to preserve nature, is just to make sure we don't have plastic water bottles and things like that.
Oh, of course. And I could assure everybody that the condition that it's in now is going to look far better by the time I go sweeping through there and cleaning up after everybody.
You're
No doubt about it.
You're a good man.
Yeah. No, I've been a part of conservation within the town and part of the Boston Hill Conservation. I worked with the trustees of reservations. I've banded owls with Jack Holt in town. I've done the whole thing. So I assure you, I'm going to leave the town property that I like to utilize as my playground somewhat in very, very good shape.
Great.
So this is all within town property, so you're not crossing on Edgewood property?
Absolutely not. And if I have a map on there, and
I see it.
And you can see that, yep. I'll be utilizing Half Mile Hill up by the Stevens Estate and Osgood Hill.
Something different. It's exciting.
Thank you. No, I'd like you to come out and walk. As slow as you may want to go.
I guess.
No finishers trophies. No finishers medals.
Insurance-wise, I would instruct you, or I'd ask you, request you to get in touch with Ray, Mrs. Manager Santilli, to talk about the insurance requirements, because I think we would need an insurance binder on that, right? Because, as we all know, those trails have a lot of rocks and stumps and everything else, and it's town property, so we
of course, and every runner signs a waiver, and then we can put the town on the insurance.
Listed as an additional insured. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Ray.
Okay. What else? I think it's a great idea. Now, traditionally, these races in North Andover draw a lot of people, so hopefully you're not underestimating 200-300.
No, it's fairly niche to have runners race off-road. It tends to be, I'm not going to say more challenging, but it's certainly different, racing in the woods and on trails.
I see people out there all the time. I don't know how they do it. I'd get on my face in like 5 seconds.
It's tough. It's tough. And I hope, we bring out a lot of the high school athletes, young kids, families, Merrimack College. I hope everybody can come out and partake in it. It's a great asset that the town has up there with the trail systems, not just this one, but all the other ones too. I hope a lot of people can come and discover what these assets the town has.
You should do it just a little bit earlier next year when peak foliage.
Great idea.
Because I've been on that trail during, it takes your breath away.
Yeah, it's gorgeous out there. It really is.
Yeah, but we might not so peaky, But maybe it'll be late, still have some.
Yep. Okay, do we have a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen approve the request of Martin Allen to use the trails as presented for the XC Trophy Race Run Walk on Saturday, November 5th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're all set.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you. Good luck.
Bye-bye. Get that insurance requirement done.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda are appointments. We have two tonight. I'll turn it over to the appointment subcommittee. Talk to these.
So, I can't really speak about Donald Bellinger.
Well, Don Belanger is obviously our building inspector, recently appointed. The building inspector has historically served as ADA coordinator, so Don is here. And so this is traditionally not an appointment subcommittee person because it serves ex officio to the role as building inspector, so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Want to move on that?
Yes, please.
Move that the Board of Selectmen approve the appointment of Donna Belanger as the ADA coordinator.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your service, sir. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Okay, so next we have Jeffrey Shepherd for the Festival Committee.
Yeah, great young man. Came in really looking to really help us out in pretty much any way that we could use his talents.
Impressive narrative.
Yeah, great kid.
He walked here exactly too, so he's as local as it comes.
He walked to the interview. He did.
He lives in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's, you know what, he's great and just really willing to help and get involved, so I would move approval.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Tracy, do you want to say your thank yous? And
Well, as I always say, no, I do, and I mean it every time that I say it, that
I know.
truly, without the volunteers of this community, we would screech to a halt,
Right.
we really would. We're so blessed and so lucky with spectacular people, and I don't know if it's public, but this young man's narrative was so impressive, and what he wants to do, and he echoes the sentiments of hundreds of volunteers in town. And I mean, I'm personally always very, very grateful to the volunteers in town because that's what makes North Andover awesome to be living.
And our volunteers are all different ages, as he's just shown. So, it's great.
And
Thanks.
if other folks want to become involved in the town, there is a website on the Town of North Andover. There's a link on the Town of North Andover website for other volunteer opportunities that are still available. So I encourage anybody that wants to get involved to go out and take a look at the website and review those availabilities and sign up for one, because as Tracy said, those are what make the town run so smoothly and be such a great place to live. So thank you all. Okay, next on the agenda, ratification of the collective bargaining agreement between the Town of North Andover and the AFS-CME, Council 93, Local 2978, Public Works, for a period July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Town of North Andover and the AFS-CME, Council 93, Local 2978, Public Works, for a period covering July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2019.
Any discussion? I'd like to thank the town manager and assistant town manager for all the work they've done on getting us to this point and getting that agreement in place. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous? Okay, next on the agenda, Glenn Alt from the Water Treatment Plant Superintendent requests a waiver of all fees for the installation of a new generator at the Butcher Boy Pump Substation. Anybody here to speak to that, Mr. Manager?
Just me.
Okay.
This is a public project, and obviously is consistent with other public projects. We request a waiver of building permit fees associated with the new generator at the Butcher Boy Pump Station.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda, Kelly Grasso requests permission to use the town common on Saturday, September 17, 2016, to tie blue ribbons around trees. And supposed to be Kelly?
Hi, I'm Kelly Grasso. This is Emily Pivot, and we're both members of a group called Massachusetts State Police Wives, and that's kind of how this all got started. What?
Was it Future State Police?
Future, yeah. Not yet, not quite. Getting there.
Getting there.
Closer. Just as good. So I'm sure you guys have all seen the ribbons around town, and we would really love to see them around the common, as would several people that have given us such great support with our ribbons. Obviously, the common is well-traveled, the heart of the town, and where this is just so important to our town and so many families, we would just really love to see it out there even more than it already is.
I do want to mention that the blue ribbons, because a lot of people have been asking. We did Andover yesterday morning, and people thought it was for 9/11, which could be supporting that as well. Our group wants everyone to know that it has nothing to do with Blue Lives Matter, and
we're not
that
trying to
whole
create something new.
Yeah.
We're trying to support something that already exists and is very important to all of us.
Right, just supporting law enforcement. That's all that it represented.
So this is pretty much what we have been doing, is we tie this around the base of trees, lampposts, street poles, light poles.
And I've been driving around trimming them, like
Yes,
the ones that are fraying, the one out front. I work at Kittredge. The one out front was driving me crazy. I have scissors with me. I'm gonna fix it.
We're trying to perfect it
Those
all.
big scissors, see if that.
Yeah,
So this is pretty much
because that
what
was
we're
my
doing.
biggest thing. If they don't look good, what are they representing? I wanted them to be perfect.
Yeah.
Just as a
We
little
made these
backstory,
ourselves.
so Kelly communicated with me about 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
2 weeks and probably 2 days, and talked a little bit about the program and the initiative, and introduced to the board, who was supportive to put them around town. At the time, indicated that the common is generally not used for, it has a really limited use, and so suggested that we didn't certainly have time to come back to the board. The chairman suggested that you come to this meeting, and I passed that along to you. So that's what, in our conversation, which I did pass along to the board, and I think we talked a little bit about in public at the last meeting, that the ribbons have, that they're set for approximately 30 days, right? Because at some point, they obviously, it's hard to
They're
keep
not
them
gonna
up,
last
right?
forever.
You can only use the scissors so long,
Right.
and only trim so much. So that's a little bit of the backstory for those folks who weren't watching the last meeting of why you two are here today.
Yes. Thank you.
And how many would you be looking to place on the common approximately?
Well, I haven't really. We want to cover it the perimeter.
The
pretty well.
perimeter, yeah. We have to take them all down ourselves. So it's not like when we did Andover yesterday, we just did the whole downtown because it's like a common area that plenty of people travel down. Here in North Andover, it was a little bit more tricky. I did High Street. I covered Stashies. I put one on Kittredge with the principal's permission. I put some out here. But it was kind of hard, and we were getting personal messages that people wanted them on their houses. So we were driving around like crazy people, putting them on our one thing is we don't put them on flagpoles. I mean, unless some people did, which kind of, I think that would make our like admin for the State Police Wives group probably make her cringe, because that was her one thing, don't put them on
Let me
flagpoles.
just give you a little history. The American flag, you can't really enhance it. You can't put a sign.
Right, no, I completely understand
Yeah.
that.
It's just flag etiquette.
Right.
So.
I put one, I mean, I have a marked State Police cruiser in my driveway, and I live on a pretty main street in North Andover, so I didn't need it. I put one on my lamppost.
I have one on my lamppost.
I tied yours on.
My husband came out and said, what are you doing?
He asked me who I was looking for, and I was like, I have permission, because we live on the same street. No, once I explained myself.
His father was a career police officer. So
Oh.
yeah.
I have
He just
had
didn't know.
people who don't even have police in their family have reached out to
Yeah,
us.
we've had a lot of people
She
reach
just
out.
did a whole like Barker Farm neighborhood over there, tons of houses, just from the kids over there listening to me talk about
I saw in
it.
another community, a little bit different than what you're doing, but maybe ties in, that they had a blue light in their lamppost. Are
I
they
think-
doing lights as
It's
well?
different.
No, that has. I think that's like an old kind of a thing that they used to do.
For a while.
Well, didn't it start with like veterans? They did it. They left a light on for veterans.
Like a green.
Right. So it's a green light.
Right, so that's the thing with
Veterans,
the blue light, autism really took that over. Lighted up blue is
Just
what
saw it
they
at the same
say.
time, I thought, is this a-
Yeah, so I think this is just something different, and like we said, it's just a, for the time being, we have 30 days. He said we could renew if they still look good. If they don't, we take them down. I know some communities in the state have asked for them to take them down, one in particular, and there was no problem with that.
Does
But-
it raise money for anything, or is it?
It's not raising money, no, I mean.
Awareness.
Just awareness,
Exactly.
yeah, support. We
Yeah,
just want,
support.
we want our loved ones to know that they're supported. And honestly, my loved one at home is not the most, like, he doesn't need police support, but seeing, like, he doesn't care about the comments and things like that, but seeing the look on his face when he just drives, and he was like, oh, do they have, like, a son that is a police officer in town? And I was like, no, she's a teacher, and she just wanted one on her house.
Well, how do we get them on our house?
I just whipped this one at home to bring here, so I will certainly, anybody who wants them.
I think you would be surprised if people knew, if you give a contact this evening, actually you might be overwhelmed.
We were thinking, I mean, if this, we love doing this, like, we really do love it, and I think we had a lot more support than we thought we were going to have, and I think if we were, we had planned a little more in advance, we could have had even more support. So I was thinking for next year, if we make this like an annual thing, like the North Andover Night Out, we could do the town we could actually do red for firefighters too, and make it just, I mean, we can get everybody in on this, and then we could actually hand out these ribbons at the night out for, you know, for free, of course, and then we can do, whoever wants to do the town can do the town, but if families want to do their homes or local businesses, then we would, I mean, it just gets everybody together, it's fun, kids can get involved, and it's all good and happy.
Yeah, we didn't ask for any money. We just did it ourselves, and we keep saying, like we did Andover yesterday, and we were like, this is our last town, though, and now we're going to go do Wakefield, because I have a cousin who's a state trooper down there, and it's like, okay, this is our last town.
It's just a feel-good thing to do, and it gets, you know, it gets everybody together.
And then you can culminate it by coming to our dance for our police and fire.
There we go.
Exactly.
As we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So just one, this may be helpful, I think, in the future, and I know it's been a little bit one town at a time and one event at a time, which is great, sort of organic that way, is pick a beginning date and end date.
Yes.
As it grows, even in this community. It helps in all of our initiatives when we can say to people, it's going to happen at this time and it's going to end at this time.
Right.
Otherwise, what happens is people forget exactly what it is they somewhat remember, but it doesn't stick with them enough. So sometimes the shorter periods for these things are actually better, because people know that for 1 week or for 2 weeks you're going to do X. It's something, you know, whatever it's worth. My experience is that when you can define a very specific time and it happens the same time every year, it actually, people go, oh, it's that time of year.
Yeah.
So when would you be looking to keep them up until?
I think we originally got permission until October 3rd.
Is that correct? Well, we did them on the 3rd.
The only thing that I have is that we were having that event on the Common on the 24th. And you know, they had requested the Common use first, right? So, you know, as long as there's no issues.
We would
just about the perimeter.
Yeah, like, are those, I wanted to know if the lamp posts, like the nice lamp posts, are those technically town, or is that the Common?
Every light post.
Because we don't need to do the actual trees in the middle of the Common.
Right.
We can just we just want to do the perimeter, really, just for everyone to see. We don't need
our original permission from you, or this extra?
I would say anything, it's extra. It's why you're here.
Right.
Yeah. So the Common isn't just the grass in that case. The Common
That's
is
what we felt,
from
and
the
that's why we
sidewalks in.
stayed clear of it. If you notice,
You did
the
a great
second
job.
you get from Mass Ave and approach the Common, we didn't even do that intersection right there.
You were respectful of the originals. I appreciate it.
Yes. Didn't want to step on
And I
toes.
would just ask, I think sometimes fewer, it says more, so, you know, instead of just totally blanketing.
Yeah, so we could do every other or every 2 or 3, or, you know, however, whatever you guys will give us permission to. We'd love to just have some on there as much as.
So it looks respectful, and it doesn't look like, you know, overburdened or too much of it.
Absolutely.
Understand.
But, you know, obviously, we're all very supportive of this.
Thank you.
Is that the light poles or the trees?
Light poles.
I generally, as a recommendation, again, if it's whatever it's worth, just to the board, I'd stay off not say off, it's just, again, I think the light poles, leaving it to the light poles is a better suggestion.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because the rest gets washed in between.
More uniform, too.
Yep.
The only thing is, if you find them sliding, we would prefer if you did put taper in.
We won't use tape.
No,
This
we
actually
won't.
ties really tight and
It does.
stays.
It does.
But for the most part,
So a suggestion is, so if you could give us some direction on timing, whether you link it to the October 3rd date or some other date, and then whether you'd want it on every other poll. But certainly keeping it to the polls would be.
I think the poles are spread far enough apart that
I
they
like
can
the
do
poll
it.
like that.
Yeah.
And I think they're far enough apart. that-
And
We
on
could do
High
that.
Street, I did the poles and they looked really good.
Yeah.
So.
That's what we did in Andover too. They do look really
They're
nice on the
great.
black poles. Yeah.
So if you put them up on the 17th, which is Saturday,
Yeah.
Saturday seem to be your days, right?
Mhm.
That's the days you were, okay. Then maybe to the 3rd as well, is that okay?
I'm good with that.
Perfect.
All right, well, your motion then.
Move approval.
Give or
Second?
take. When the 3rd is.
Monday.
It's a
Yeah,
Monday.
Oh, is
it's
it a
the
Monday?
Monday.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
we
it's
want
really the
first or
1st.
the-
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure
First.
out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, yeah.
First of
For the second, you're flexible on
They'll be
that?
down by then.
I have a wedding on the 1st, so I'd prefer the 2nd.
Okay.
The 2nd, okay.
Okay.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? I'm on Stevens Street, right, before Stevens, if you could put one in my house too. Is that
Sure.
fine?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We'd be happy to.
Okay.
Okay, so on the light posts around the common,
Yeah.
Yes.
from this Saturday to Sunday, the 2nd.
Why don't we just say till October 3rd? It gives them
So that we have
Saturday
them
Yeah, it's
and
fine.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, up
it's
to-
fine. Okay.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
take it down before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And nothing on the
Day before,
roundabout.
whatever.
Okay.
It's a wedding. She
And
could sleep
nothing on
in
the
on
roundabout.
Sunday.
Nice,
you know.
nice.
You'll figure it out around that time.
Great.
All right, so getting back to this, we have a motion, a second, we've had discussion. Any further discussion? All right, well, good luck. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good luck, ladies.
Motion to go to licensing?
So moved.
All right, motion second, all those in favor? Okay, we're in licensing, you want the gavel?
Well, I need the gavel for tonight. I don't think that we should need the gavel, but if Don gets wild, you can gavel.
He's gonna be in the head with it.
All you have to do is get the
Um,
logo.
So we've now entered licensing. The first item on the agenda this evening is a series of dates presented to us by Merrimack College. For the most part, all are one-day licenses. We have a one-day all-alcohol liquor license for Thursday, September 15th from 4:30 to 10:30. We have a one-day wine and malt license for September 23rd, which is a Friday, from 6:30 to 11:30 p.m. A one-day wine and malt license for a block party. Also at Merrimack College, of course, Friday, September 30th from 4 to 11 p.m. Is there anybody from Merrimack here this evening? Nope.
Move approval?
So moved. All
All-
licenses as read.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none? That pass.
Pism. What's that?
So I'm going to move this up right now. So we have several requests from Small Act Farms for one-day licenses. That includes one-day wine and malt license for corporate outing on Saturday, September 17th. That's from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. A one-day all-alcohol license on Friday, September 30th from 6 to 10 p.m. An all-day license for Thursday, October 6th from 4 to 8 p.m. A one-day wine and malt license for Saturday, October 8th from 4 to 10 p.m. A one-day wine and malt license for Thursday, November 3rd from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And finally, a one-day all-alcohol license for Saturday, November 5th from 5 to 10 p.m. Is there anybody here from Merrimack, from Small Act Farms? I don't see anyone.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? None. All pass. The next item on the agenda is Jamie Green Klepotski of Ipswich Ale Brewery requests a one-day wine and malt license for an outdoor concert at the Stevens Coolidge Place on Wednesday, September 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. Is there anybody here? Is Jamie here? Anybody here from this
Here's
event?
a question, Mr. Chairman, on this one. Doesn't Ipswich Ale have like that truck that they can hire and come into your backyard? Right?
I don't know.
That's.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
right?
There's an
Yeah.
idea.
So I think it's Ipswich Ale that you can
No one
hire
ever
the
tells
truck.
you about these things.
And you can have it come to your house, and it's a right. And it serves beers. Serves a bunch of beers to people. So here's my question. I was wondering,
That's what
I
it
guess it won't be the truck. This is going to be actually like a bar.
So
wasn't
I
concerned.
know it was exactly included
I'm
in
not
our.
concerned. It's at Stephen Coolidge. It's an hour and a half or 2 hours, but I was just curious.
So they there's nobody here this evening from
Either or.
Ipswich Jail or...
Tracy's looking for invitations.
Yeah, I'm
looks
sure
like
they
a
wouldn't mind you
fundraiser. I
being
think
there.
we-
No more information on it.
Right.
So in your,
Like, who's the
So the name of the
band? What's it
caterer is
called?
Heritage Food.
correct,
The Heritage Food Truck.
Yep.
that's the caterer's name.
Oh,
But that still could be
the beer truck.
Ipswich, could still be there.
Because there's a beer truck that you could hire. Just saying.
So it's
That's why I'm curious why they're asking for the licenses. But I guess you're paying so it's not a private event.
Yeah, it's on.
Well, they need a one-day license if it was if there was a caterer in this case, and they didn't have a catering license, because the catering license comes with the ability to serve alcohol.
Right.
Separately licensed. So the fact that they're asking you for a one day tells me they don't have a catering license.
So that's the name of the truck.
That's
Got
the
it.
name of the truck.
Their DBA or whatever.
Right. So they must be serving without a licensed caterer.
I move approval. I'd love more information. It's too bad that...
You might just
We do have another meeting before the date of the event. I don't know if they would
They're not a licensed
be
caterer.
thrilled about that.
I mean, maybe
We could move approval pending. I mean, that's actually,
Pending tickets, you know?
I will,
Well,
it'll say
yeah.
vote.
Ms.
Who's
Brett,
that?
I think the
Trustees?
general sense is it's the truck. It's just
It's
a
the
bartender
truck.
truck.
Yeah.
And they're not operating off a catering
And they're
license.
tipped. It's like
And they're
they're
tip
tipped.
certified.
Oh, yeah. There'll be
Mhm.
everything, yeah.
I'll, does anyone second? I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
Aye, yeah.
I just wish I knew more about it. It's a beautiful place, the Stevens Coolidge. That's the trustees of the reservation.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful. And
Well,
Your
hearing
Honor,
everyone in favor, it sounds like the motion passes unanimously.
Yeah, maybe I'll
So,
crash it.
the final item on the agenda for licensing. A request of Bertucci's to expand their operating, an application for Bertucci's Restaurant to change their entertainment license hours. They're requesting a change in the hours from Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sundays, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., to Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m.
it's only a TV.
It's TV and pumped in,
Yep.
like,
Yeah, I mean, if
Move
it was a
approval.
rock band, I'd see it.
Hear a
Even if
motion,
it
hear a
was.
second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
All right.
aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it passes.
Motion to move on licensing?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are to licensing.
Okay, we're on licensing. Okay, we have no old business. We have no new business. We have public comment. Mr. Stanley, for any public comment? Sir, do you have public
Gee,
comment?
we were so...
Are you going to welcome back?
Yeah, gee, this- Okay.
Hi, can you introduce yourself? And,
Good evening, Aaron. My name is Brian Burchall at 72 Madeline Ave here in town. I'd like to bring up discussion of changing trick or treat from the 31st of October to the last Saturday of October.
Yeah! I've been trying to do it for years.
I've got a number of valid reasons for this to be done. First and foremost, the safety. By changing it from the 31st to the last Saturday, you're guaranteed extra light by not hitting daylight savings times yet. Clocks don't switch until that evening. So to begin with, you've got, less darkness for the children to have to worry about. By being done on a Saturday, you don't have to worry about parents rushing home, rushing through traffic, flying through the neighborhoods to get home, to get their children out because they've been at work all day long. They're home. They've got a full day to plan this. They've got time to sit and do their homework instead of rushing home from school. Do your homework, hurry up and eat. Let's go. I've got two children. One's a freshman in high school and one is a sixth grader here at the middle school. And a number of times that pretty much their dinner has been that candy. Let's go! Because by the time we do get home, I've got approximately 70 signatures from residents in town from all different areas of the town, out country, in closer this way. I've got business owners in town that have signed the petition also to have this changed.
I think you make some great points. I mean, that's true. As a parent, you have to run home from work. You absolutely have no time to make dinner unless you're taking time off of work. The kids don't have time to do their homework. Most parents, especially for younger kids, are getting their kids to bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's... I know Tracy's not in favor of this at all.
I know-
I have
know-
been a champion of making this change for many, many years, probably every year since that I've been on this
Yeah.
board. I have failed every single
I know.
year.
You've failed.
I have failed.
I know people that
Except for the
have
years
actually.
that it was already on Friday and Saturday evening.
Right.
We had a snowstorm one year. I got my way because of Mother Nature. And I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Wholeheartedly.
And I do know of people that have actually lost wages because they needed to be home, so, and if they're coming in from Boston, so they can't just, so they've given up a half day of pay just so they leave work early, be home to take their children trick-or-treating.
I think we've all been rushing home from work and wondered, geez, I hope I don't hit somebody.
Yeah.
But even with the daylight savings time comment, actually, that's an especially valid point.
Yeah,
about the
you don't
documents,
flip
yeah.
the clocks until 2 a.m. that night, so you get that extra hour of daylight just by, having it on the last Saturday.
Monday night.
On a Monday.
This year it's a Monday
Oh,
night.
Monday is too.
We always do it on the actual Halloween day. This year, my son's in 8th grade now. It
Right.
doesn't affect us, so
That just means he doesn't go with you.
well, actually, this year he's at nature's classroom.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we won't even be in town. Yeah, they'll be up in New Hampshire. But I agree wholeheartedly. I wish I had known you were doing a petition. I would have helped you. And
This
But
was
I
last
say
minute.
good
This
luck.
was like
Let
just
me say this.
over 3 days.
This is public comment. We're not voting on this tonight. We
Of
won't be
course.
voting on
Right.
this until probably the first meeting in October.
Right.
So, gives, there was a request to be on the agenda for this, and I denied it. I said I'd prefer to have him come in public comment. So, we have some time to talk about this and to think it over, and talk to your neighbors and talk to folks and see what you feel. And we'll be doing it as we always do. In October, we'll be voting to set the date and hours for Halloween trick-or-treating.
I would encourage the folks that you have on there to maybe if you get more, or if you don't look for past Selectman Gordon. He's against this too. Maybe
Well-
you're going to be my help when I finally don't need it. Because my boy's too old now, but.
I did have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Gordon
Oh, did you?
about an hour ago.
Oh, really?
Just before the meeting. My daughter and his daughter are both playing JV field hockey.
Okay.
And he was at the game, and we just had a small discussion. And he agreed with my points, my valid points, because that had never been brought up before, about the daylight savings time.
Really?
Well, that's what I was told. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Depends on
The daylight savings time is a big thing.
We're a bit of a parochial town when it comes to tradition.
It's not like I'm asking to change Christmas Day. It's just.
really?
It's,
That's been my
motion for years.
yeah. It's just
Always Monday.
yeah,
And in fairness, you're actually not asking to change Halloween, you're just asking to change
exactly.
trick-or-treat.
Just trick or treat. You can still celebrate on the 31st. Just trick or treat itself.
Well, if you need any help between now and the next time you're on our agenda, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because I would be very happy to help you in this.
Well, the next on the agenda will be the actual vote.
Right.
When I got into
And-
government, I never thought I'd have this conversation.
And one other thing I'd like to point out is that approximately 10 years ago, when Haverhill and Bradford had switched to this format, it was just a trial. They wanted to see the
Right.
response and how it would go, and it's been very successful there, and the mayor there has been on board with it ever since, and they'll just stay with
It's
it.
been a windfall for Merrimack Valley kids because they get to go to North Andover and Haverhill, right?
Yeah.
So, all the candy.
Well, I think one of the things, though, too, is that in Haverhill in particular, is that we have a number of friends in Haverhill, and I had a small window of time when I lived in Haverhill as well, and it really creates like a community. The neighborhoods
Sure.
tend to do more.
Yeah.
You have more parents out with the kids. There's more grown-ups on the street. It's just
There's no rushing in and out of the house, yeah.
The whole street is filled with kids. We get hundreds and hundreds.
Imagine if it was on a Saturday.
it's good stuff. It was on a Saturday a couple of years in a row.
Mhm.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Just saying.
Thank you, Mr. Burchell.
Thank
Anything
you.
else?
Thank you.
No, that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Any other public comment?
Come on,
All right,
Stan.
thanks for coming in.
Thank
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Reese Tinton.
Well, why'd you have to taunt him?
See?
Because then he can't speak in the entire month of October.
Yeah.
As a school committee member, What's your take on Halloween?
No.
On Halloween, yeah.
On October 31st.
Ms. Watson, I personally agree with you. I think that's a much better plan. It's just the safety factor alone. I think having it on a weekend when everybody can relax, not at the restaurant, I think is a great idea. And we have, we have a neighborhood that's very amenable to that kind of an activity, and it would make it a bigger activity for us. I just
It'll
wanted
be an interesting vote in October.
Yes, it will.
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Stan Lippert, guy who shows up at these meetings in town all the time. 43 Stone Cleve Road. I just wanted to thank all the participants at the ceremony yesterday for the 9/11 activity. I thought that was very well done. The police department, the fire department, the veterans, everybody. I thought that just was very indicative, as Ms. Watson has been pointing out, about what our town's all about. I think it made me feel very good about being a resident in North Andover, so I appreciated all the participation and all the work that went into that. So
Congratulations to Matt Davis, who organized it.
it was great. And I had a tremendous amount of sympathy for the young woman who sang. She was very courageous to do that a cappella. She did just a wonderful job, so I thought it was just a very nice ceremony. So I just wanted to say that. That's my comment.
Well, thank you for that.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, sir. All right, the town manager's report. We have quite a few monthly reports that we now include in the package. Are there any in there that you want to highlight?
They all have some level of relevance or another. So from meeting to meeting, it'll vary. Some of these reports, almost all of these reports, are monthly reports. Some are not, but a lot of them are monthly reports. So in some meetings, given the timing, the monthly report may not be out. This happens to be one of those meetings where we have most of the information in from August. So it's an interesting read for anybody who has an interest to do that. Everything from where we stand on building permits to the opiate overdose report to the police department and human resources log, the capital projects one, which is a very helpful addition that Ray produces. So it's any questions you may have relative to those, either at the meeting or subsequent to the meeting. But I think they allow both the board and the public, since they're accessible through the agenda, to get some sense of what's happening in the community, broader sense of what happens in terms of just data, and then whatever context you'd like me to apply to that. I would add, I guess somewhat linked to the capital projects report, we've announced our return to town hall as October 24th.
Wow, great.
So we'll, at this point, there'll be some impact on our town hall operations on the week prior to that so that we can make the move. Certainly the Friday, and we're still talking about some other changes that probably will impact Thursday, because the move back will be, it's a move. So there'll be some complications to that, but we're all very, very excited to return to Main Street. The project looks great, and I know you folks, some of you folks.
I was going to mention that. I got an opportunity to tour that as well. And it really is very exciting. It's great to see the space, and it looks totally different from what it used to look like, but it still has the character, still has the garage doors, and it's still, it's really phenomenal. It's going to be a great space when it's all done, and the office space, and seeing where everyone's going to be calling home for the next many years, hopefully.
Decades.
Yeah, so it was really, really exciting to see it coming along. So thank you, Ray, for hosting that. Yeah.
It's magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a number of comments this weekend, but in particular about where the bay doors were and how the windows and how beautiful they looked already from the street view. And I heard that this weekend. I haven't had an opportunity yet, but.
Well, we think in conjunction, it's transformative in the sense that the presence of the center of the entire building now will help transform that section of Main Street. We believe internally, and something we'll bring back to the board, that if we can combine that with the eventual undergrounding of the utilities and some of the other things happening on Main Street, we have an opportunity to truly begin to make Main Street what we've always hoped it would be. And so that's forthcoming at a future meeting. But the building looks great, and the support's been great. So that's October 24th, and we're rigid on that date, which means Ray's rigid on that date, which means it will absolutely happen.
But what will the front look like?
It'll be done, the curb and sidewalk.
Some of the landscaping may not be done.
Well, I would assume the landscaping wouldn't be done till
Like this
spring.
building.
The sidewalk, everything, the entrance.
The hardscape will be done.
Yeah, the hardscape will be done.
Yep, so.
One quick suggestion about the new town hall. In Lawrence, in some of the renovated mill buildings, they have these nice big brass plaques that talk about the history of the structure. And because that's
So
such a
you're
historic fire
You're talking
station.
on behalf of the Historical Society right now, right?
Well, but just in terms of the town. I mean, we could help with information and all of that, and there's lots of good historical information.
They did quite a bit when we did our
Yeah, yeah.
research last
A
time.
nice brass plaque on the front there, just describing the fire station part of that building.
Can we do it in
Might
the
be
lobby
nice
rather than the front?
for people walking by, just to look at that and say, wow. And, you know, we have some, you can get photos that are etched in brass, and it might be a nice
idea.
touch.
That
You
one
can-
with the
I can show you.
horses, that's the famous.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's quite famous,
very
so
good.
just a thought. You know, you might think about that.
Thank you.
Great idea.
Thank you.
Times a charm.
All right.
So unless the board, it's up to the board if you have any questions. If not,
I'd also like to mention the Report It program again. I mean, I've used that many times, and I think it's a fantastic way for people to report issues, and I would encourage people, if they see something that they don't feel is right, to use that as a way of communicating issues, because I've had people call me before and say, you know, this doesn't look right out, and I would direct them to report it as a way of not only reporting an issue, but it also logs it, and then it's tracked from that point forward.
Yeah,
And it forces it closure on the issue. So
Well, it's-
Report It is a great tool. It's on the town website, and I encourage people to use it.
in support of that, and I appreciate the sort of endorsement of that, what the results show from the reported system, so we've seen 28 reports this month, 24 were resolved. It doesn't mean we're not trying to resolve all issues, but from this point of view, the departments are excellent in resolving these items. And so even for the resident, there's the double benefit, if you will, about the fact that they can report something, know it's going to be resolved. Not that we don't otherwise resolve it, but it really allows that tracking where
Well, it
departments
doesn't
can
necessarily have to be a problem that needs to be resolved. It might just be a comment or something.
Most of them were really not made for that, quite frankly, because the comments, it's really designed, and we do get those on occasion, but more often not, they're very specific with the drop down, so that
Yes.
there is a response, and it says you'll get, it really is intended for the kinds of work initiatives, work orders that we can track and we can map. So we certainly do get some feedback that's in the other category, but for issues like potholes and street issues and traffic issues and trees and related items, that's its best use for us. And as Mr. Valancourt said, it really allows us to track how we're doing internally, and the staff has been fantastic with it. So I encourage everybody to use that. And we find if we get calls now, we actually tell them to go to the reported system. It might be better. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just for the tracking capability. Okay, any other questions on, or ask the manager, any questions for the manager? Any other questions for the manager? Hearing none. Next meeting will be Monday, September 26, 2016. I'll hear a motion.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you all.